I was asked this very good question. It's a very important question in my recent React interview. That if you have to do a very heavy mathematical calculation, computation in one of your component in React, how can you optimize the performance? Basically, if it's a mathematical computation and it can be resource extensive task, is there something that we can use to optimize the performance of our component in this case? So yeah, there is very good option in this case, and every React developer should know this, and hopefully you will already know this, but I'll try to explain it in a um, with a very easy example, and we'll learn a lot of things how this works. And first of all, the answer to this question is, like, let's say the interview what interviews was basically asking is if you're calculating factorial of a number, or maybe Fibonacci series, or maybe what else could it be? It could be prime number, nth prime number. If you're trying to calculate, how could you, because that you will have to create a mathematical function, write some logic in that, and then you will display the result of that function in your component, right? So let's try to understand this with example how we can fix this using useMemo, because it's a very important hook and every React developer should know this. And it's I will try to explain this using a very simple example. So I just have a blank window for VS Code here. So let me open a new terminal inside my VS Code. Let me cd into documents, this folder, and I'll create a new project, new React project. So I'll use npx to create it. So it's npx create react, sorry, not react app, and we'll name this as useMemo. That will work. Let it do its thing. So what I will do is, let's start with the this prime number and a prime number itself. And I'll do is I'll just create a simple component in which we will have an input field to get value from user. Based on whatever number user inputs, we will calculate a prime number uh, directly. We will calculate the prime number whatever value user keeps inputting that into the text field, and we will display the prime number on the component itself in a paragraph or somewhere. So this is done. So how there is a command for opening the project, and I forgot the command what it was. So let's use cd into useMemo, and I think I'll have to open this. There's a command as well. I'm not able to recall the command. So yeah, there is that. Oh, it's not this one. It's documents full stack use memo. Yeah, let's open this. All right, there we go, and we have our project, and we have app.js. Let me try to run this. Hopefully it will work. And how do we run a React app? npm start. Yes, I do. Well, there we go. So we have the project running, and okay, so there we go. I do have the project running now, and what we can do is, it's an app.js which is being rendered from index. So I'll work in app.js itself. Let me delete everything from here. How can we calculate nth prime number? So before calculating nth prime number, let me create an input field, but to display everything I'll just create a React fragment, an empty React fragment instead of creating a div. Then I will use input. The type would be, because we have to take numbers, so value would be the value. What could the value be? It has to be a use state value, correct? So a use state variable, although it's constant, but it's a variable, and it's pretty cool how React handles this. I think I'll be able to explain that as well, how React handles this. So what should be, okay, let me set prime and set prime. This would be a use state. Default would be 0, and let me just display the value here itself. And on change, it's on change, correct? On change, what we can do is, instead of creating a new function, I'll just catch the value here for this target, and I can do set prime to e dot target dot value. But this would be, so let me wrap this. Let me wrap this in parse int function. Only then it would be able to parse into int. Then it'd be able to set this value, correct? With me so far, why we are getting this error? Because input is a self-closing tag in JSX. It's not HTML, it's not JavaScript, it's not React. Whatever we are writing here is JSX, right? So input is a self-closing tag. So whenever user input some number here, let me see if this is okay. This is working so far. So whenever a user will input a value here, let's display that value in this paragraph. And in order to display the value of nth prime number, I'll have to create a function that calculates nth prime number. So I already have that function. Let me just copy the function to calculate nth prime. Okay, there it is, nth prime. This function will calculate the nth prime number, and we don't have to do anything about it. We just use it. We'll just be using it. And in order to display nth prime number, what we can do is we can create. You may be thinking that we have to create another useState variable, but what we can do is we can create a simple variable with a const. Okay, not with let, with the const itself. Let's say result would be equal to find nth prime using prime. Okay, get that prime number, whatever prime number is, call this function with it, and then save the value in the result constant that we have created. How amazing that is. I'm not even creating a let variable here, and I can show prime number is like this. So why would the component re-render here? Because it's not a useState component, but the component will re-render because I'm triggering, because this prime number itself is a useState variable, and every time the value is changing inside this input text field, I'm setting this value, I'm updating using set prime, and when this set prime will be called, this will make the whole component re-render. When the whole component is getting re-rendered, this result will be set to the new value as well. Okay, it would be set to the new value as well. If I don't use the prime, which is the prime variable here, which is a useState variable, the value won't re-render on the next re-render. Okay, but in this case it will. Hopefully it will, but let me try this. Why is the value already there? Okay, let's see. Okay, do you see that? How cool that is? It's already re-rendering, although that's not a useState variable. It's still able to re-render the value. But if instead of rendering it with prime, if I just say call this find prime number with some let variable, let what could it be? Let result num is equal to some number, and then I'll be using this here, result num, and then I'll be using this. If I use because this function is getting called, okay, on chain, this is getting called, and if I do this, okay, that whatever number you have updated, set the result num as well, result num to be the prime number as well. Okay, and now calculate the nth prime using result num. Although it will calculate it, but it won't be able to re-render it. Wow, it won't be able to re-render it, correct? Because what's happening is every time this value is getting changed, because this prime is a it's a use state variable. It is causing the whole component to re-render, but when this whole function is getting recalled, the use state itself is being set to zero. And initially it was being set to zero, but React is so smart that this is a re-render. It's not the first time this component is getting rendered or mounted. So just skip this. Don't set it to zero again. But here it's again getting set to zero. Okay? Because this is not a use state variable. So this will, but this is again we digress from the main topic. So let's not do this. Let's reset it to however it was, and yeah, find nth prime number using prime, because prime is not getting reset to zero on the component re-rendering. It's not getting reset to zero. This line is being this is being skipped by React itself. And it's really powerful how use state works. So now, although this component was not a use state variable, it is still, it will still show you the updated value. It will keep re-rendering because of this. It's powerful, right? It's amazing. So now the problem is I'm calling find nth prime, and let's say if I keep finding nth prime, okay, there we go. Do you see that? If I'll try to, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 are 6 numbers. If I try to find nth prime for 7-digit number, there we go. See, I'm not doing anything. My whole React app is now, it's stuck. It froze. It still froze. Oh, it's still frozen up. Now it re-rendered. It took a lot of time. It was a very heavy mathematical calculation. It took a lot of time to re-render and process. And while it was doing its thing, the whole component it froze. Okay, it was not responsive. It froze. And now the problem is, I mean, it will take its time. Okay, it will take its time. But the problem is, let me see if I create another use state variable. Okay, let's say number in this case, and set number. Just bear with me. Okay, just bear with me. And this would be 0 as well. And let's have another paragraph to display this number. Okay, this is the number. And let me just make sure that we are able to differentiate. So prime number is this, and number is whatever this is. Okay, and then if we have a button here, okay, button, and button would be on click. On click, what I want to do is I just want to increment the value of this number, this use state number now, okay, by 1 every time this button is clicked. So on click, how we can do this? I can just pass this number, or I can just do this: set number to number plus 1. Okay, all right, and then we will close this like it. And number is, oh yeah, so click. So every time I click on this, the number will increment by 1. Okay, and every time a user inputs a number in the text field, in the input field, its prime number will be displayed here. But now let me go to the 7-digit number again. It was still quick. Okay, it froze for very 1 second. It froze, but now it will froze for wow. Now I'll really have to wait for the component to re-render. Okay, but because the calculation itself is taking a lot of time, it was a very resource CPU intensive task. So now it is taking its time. It's still not done. As soon it would result, we will get a return from the find nth prime number function back. The result will the page is unresponsive. Okay, I'll just click on wait. I just hope it doesn't crash on us. And as soon the component will re-render, we will see the updated value on the prime number. The number will stay same. The number 9 will stay same. Hopefully it will do its thing. Oh my god. Come on. I think you know what happened. I accidentally clicked on 2. Yeah. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me close this. And let me close this as well. Yeah. Okay. closed itself. Okay, let me run this one more time. Hopefully it will work. And if I can bring on this display. Now number is 1. I incremented it by 1. Okay. If I'll try to find the nth prime number, 1, 2, 3, still pretty fast, pretty quick. 4, 5, 6. On 6 it takes a little bit of time. Okay. Now if I'll try to click on increment the value, did you see how slow it was? It was like it took a few not milliseconds, but it did take like 1 second to update. But if I try to find the nth prime number for a 7-digit number, now it's completely frozen. The whole app is frozen, and hopefully once it re-renders, I'll try to increment the value again. Okay, hopefully it will re-render. Oh my god. Okay, there we go. Finally it re-rendered, and now I'll try to click on this button. It's not like I'm trying to call this function again. I have not made any change in this input text field. Okay, but if I click on this button, it should just increment it to 3. This value should remain same. It shouldn't change, right? But even if I would click, I'm going to click there, right there it is. I have clicked it. The number didn't update. Nothing is updating because the way the component is working is, see, it will take a lot of time again. The same time it took to calculate the nth prime number of that number. Now it updated. Do you see that? Do you see that? How we can fix this? If I'll click on this, click again, still again it's frozen. It's again unresponsive because it's again trying to calculate the nth prime number for that number. Although we have not made any change, we didn't even want to. We shouldn't be calling this function again, right? Now it changed. Shouldn't have to call this function. How can we cache the result of this function in case the value is not changing? We shouldn't be calling this function again and again. It's very expensive to call this function. That's where useMemo comes in. That's again a very powerful hook. So in order to fix this, instead of calling find nth prime number like this, what we can do is we can call the find nth prime number in a useMemo hook. And useMemo comes from React itself. Like useState is coming from React, find nth prime number also comes from React. Okay. All we have to do is rest everything, caching and whether the value has changed or whether we need to call the function again. Everything will be handled by React. We don't have to do anything. Okay. So all we have to do is we just call useMemo. Okay. Just do this, and useMemo takes 2 arguments, a callback function, and in this we'll call the function with the value that we have to call, and we insert a dependency that as long as this number, this prime variable itself is not changing, do not make call to this function. We are happy with whatever result we have. Do not make call to this function again and again. And see, useMemo, it was already automatically imported by VS Code. So I'll just save this. It is compiling again, and we will not the dependency is importing that. Okay, no problem. Now see what will happen is trying to find 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At 6 it takes like a half a second, but now just pay attention. Again it will freeze. Right? It is taking time, and it's being done by browser on my system, so it will take time. Definitely it will take time. But what our motive is, it shouldn't take time when we don't have to re-render its value. Okay, there we go. It's now back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Now if I'll click in, see how fast that is. It's not even calling this function again. The value is remaining same. It don't have to call it. The value will be same because of the dependency that we have injected here. So as long as this prime number, which is being changed by on change event of this text field by calling set prime. So as long as this is not being called, this value is not being changed, don't call this find nth prime number. How cool is that? That's the power of useMemo. And now you understand how useMemo works, right? So now I can make any other, the whole component is getting still, it is getting re-rendered. It can only, this value can only be updated on the screen. The whole component will re-render. But although the component is getting re-rendered, this useMemo is making sure that this find nth prime number is not being called. Ain't that cool? That is really cool, and that's the power of useMemo hook. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, just give it a thumbs up, okay? I'll see you in the next video.